Okay, welcome back. This is my review podcast for chapter 23, and we are in 16th century art in Northern Europe and Spain, so the Northern Renaissance. And we're going to talk about key characteristics of the Renaissance in this region. So you want to be comparing this as we go through to the Italian Renaissance. Okay, and here's our map. So we're in Spain, parts of France, and this large area, now called the Holy Roman Empire, was once Flanders. So Flanders kind of dissolves, breaks apart, and forms the Holy Roman Empire. Um, the Holy Roman Empire today is made up of mostly Germany. So you want to remember that as well. Okay, it doesn't hurt to review these discussion questions too. We don't answer them in class, but sometimes I'll pull one of them out and put it on your test. So wouldn't hurt for you to read over these and be aware of the answers. Okay, we're not doing that. So I've listed them for you. Here we go. Italian versus Northern Renaissance. Here are the common features. Humanism is a recurring theme in both areas. This encouragement and focus on individual achievements. Artists take more credit for their work. We're seeing these artistic hotshots appear. They're signing their work. We see the emergence of portraiture in both the Italian and the Northern Renaissance. And, following along with this idea of humanism, you see artists exploring nature, anatomy, mathematics, and coming up with new scientific discoveries. The differences, which are much more numerous. So both areas have this classical revival apparent. The difference between that, though, is that the classical revival in Italy is really focused on ancient Greece and Rome. So think of, the sculpture and the architecture of ancient Greece and Rome is really what they're influenced by, and, incorporating that into their art. Whereas in the Northern Renaissance, you still see ancient Greece and Rome influence, but their work is more based on Greek texts, especially the New Testament, especially the book of Revelations. Because remember, I mentioned in the year 1500, people, see signs of the apocalypse and think that the world could possibly be ending. And so we see this theme of the quest for salvation appear in the art. Okay? In Italian Renaissance, you see papal patronage. Popes are kind of controlling things. They're commissioning the artwork. In the Italian Renaissance, the subject matter was a mixture of classical and Christian themes, and art tended to reinforce church leadership, the centrality of the papacy, and Rome. In Northern Renaissance, you see a lot more intensely detailed work, which makes sense because, we're in an area where artists like Jan van Eyck were from and were working. And if you think about all the intense detail that he included in his work, that's carrying over to a lot of these artists that we're studying now. There's a movement toward more personal devotion, and there's a criticism of the church wealth and corruption. So think about the Reformation, Martin Luther, John Calvin, all of those guys that are sort of rejecting Catholicism and kind of calling the Pope out, and how that affects the art. We see subject matter expand from religious to still life, landscape, and genre painting. And we also see this interesting phenomenon of religious symbolism appear and a lot of allegory appear in the art. And here's a slide talking more about the Reformation. You want to remember Martin Luther. He's probably the most important guy when it comes to the Reformation. He really was the guy who challenged the papal authority and really sparked the Reformation to begin with and starts the Lutheran religion. Okay, and here's some more information about the Reformation. We don't have to go through all of this, but you should know how the Catholics and Protestants felt about artwork being on display in churches. Okay, so remember that. We talked a lot about this altarpiece, so you should remember some of the things we discussed. Do you remember what part of the altarpiece this is called? Hopefully you do. This is an image of the Isenheim altarpiece closed, and then I have another slide with it open. But who was the patron saint of this altarpiece? Where was this altarpiece located? Why was it placed there? Think about all of those things that we discussed in class. Okay, and here's an image of the open altarpiece, so you can see the combination of the gilded wood sculpture with the painting by Matthias Grunwald. And then, of course, the close-ups, the gross boils, the detailed depictions of the demons, and then, of course, the lamb bleeding into the chalice, which tells you it is associated with what religion. And, of course, the superstar of the North, Albrecht Dürer. Remember all the things we talked about. How is he like Leonardo? How is he different? We made a little list in class, so hopefully you remember. They were very similar, but they also had a lot of differences. Okay, so a good comparison would be this image of the Last Supper, and why do you think that would be a good comparison image? Why is the bread and wine placed on the floor? What medium is this? What is the difference between a woodcut and an engraving? If you don't remember, watch the video. And by the way, there are a lot of really good videos in these PowerPoints, and it's truly a shame that we don't have time to watch them, but if you're bored and have nothing to do, you should watch the documentary on Michelangelo. There's also another documentary on Da Vinci and still another on Dürer, and they're all very good and tell you a lot about their lives. So again, if you have time, take a break from my disembodied voice and watch a video. So this is the French ambassadors, painted in 1533, oil and tempera on panel by Hans Holbein the Younger. And so this is a double portrait and, reflective of this reemergence of portraiture, which we already discussed. But what else did we talk about in this painting? What is that weird smear in the foreground, and why is it there? So think about that, and you can find a lot more interesting, cool videos on that subject if you go on YouTube. Just type in the word and a bunch of them will come up. We kind of breezed over some of this French architecture, very pretty, lots of influence from Mannerist architecture in Italy. So remember that a lot of these artists and architects are traveling to Italy, so they see the artwork there. They're influenced by, people like Bellini and Leonardo and Michelangelo, and they're bringing that to the North, and they're incorporating it, but they're certainly not copying. They certainly have their own style. So, we looked at this Chateau de Chambord in France, this gigantic country home, and you do want to remember that's commissioned by Francis I. We also talked about this painting briefly by Quentin Massis. This is The Money Changer and His Wife, another oil done in 1514. So what is the man and wife? What are they doing? Look at the wife's eyes. She's kind of peering over as she's, leafing through her prayer book. What's going on outside in the window? What's going on in the convex mirror? And what does that symbolize? Okay, what sort of message is the artist trying to tell the viewer? We looked briefly at meat still life, another good example of religious symbols kind of hidden into what looks like a, regular still life painting. And then we also talked about this self-portrait by Katerina van Hemissen. Why is this important? Anytime you see first, you know it's important. And also, women artists are always College Board favorites, so it's good to be familiar with them. We also talked about Hunters in the Snow, done in 1565 by Peter Bruegel the Elder. Um, how is this different from the other paintings we've looked at? How does the artist use line in his work? And not to get off topic, but what other artist is known for his use of line? Okay, and then this was the other one by Peter Bruegel the Elder, one of my favorites. And it's funny because when I was Googling pictures of it to show you details, I found a phone case, an iPhone case with this painting on it, which I thought was pretty funny, but wasn't going to buy it. Anyway, you want to remember him because he's known for these kind of everyday images, genre scenes that depict life in Netherlandish villages. He kind of has his own style, very northern style, um, very distinct style. And we ended with El Greco, really important artist. This is bridging us to the next chapter, which is Baroque painting. The Baroque painters are really known for their use of light and shadow, so we're going to see chiaroscuro on steroids, if you can picture that. But just his use of light, how he's kind of illuminating the objects and the figures. He's, also kind of doing his own thing, just like Peter Bruegel the Elder, and influenced by Tintoretto, but also trained in Venice in the workshop of Titian. So clearly influenced by some of the Italian Renaissance painters. And I think this is the only artwork that we've seen from Spain. So, the rest of them we can assume is, Germany, France, and some in the Netherlands. Okay, and then I have my little wrap-up slide here. All of this stuff is still valid. This I put in here a long time ago. You don't really have to do these tutorial quizzes. Those are on the Gardner website. I mean, they will certainly help you, but I don't know that I've taken any questions from those quizzes. Really what you should do is go through the PowerPoints, finish the reading for sure, and if you have time, watch some of the linked videos that I've embedded in the PowerPoint, and especially if we didn't watch it in class, try to watch the video. And good luck studying, and I'll see you tomorrow.